Hello and welcome to The Big Story here on Magic Bricks. Now, I'm Krishna Kumar. Today on The Big Story, we continue our focus on the cash crunch and on the ill preparedness of the government that has become clear over 20 days since the demonetization drive began. Endless queues at banks and ATMs continue to be a common sight. Senior citizens are among the worst hit as they struggle to withdraw their pension monies. But first up, all the headlines that we're tracking. Chaos over cash worsens on payday. People queue up outside banks and ATMs. Senior citizens and pensioners among worst hit.
May look difficult challenges in the immediate context, but their potential for the future to bring about significant changes in the country is extremely important.
Reacting to reports of chaos on payday from across the country, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley calls it quote-unquote short-term pain that will last for a couple of quarters but will bring in long-term benefits. Repairs on Mumbai's arterial Western Express and Eastern Express highways will get delayed thanks to Maharashtra government's move to upgrade 10,000 kilometers of roads to delay road repairs in Mumbai's roads by 3 months. Straight to the big story then. Several senior citizens complain that either banks have run out of cash, making it impossible for them to withdraw the amount of money they need, but that several banks are not even offering them preferential treatment as the government has mandated. Now, we caught up with a couple of senior citizens, and that will be my colleague Amita Balachandra. Let's take a look at what she found out.
It's been 22 days. Has things changed on ground?
Slightly it has changed for the better, but not completely. The system still needs to be put in place, which is not happening, and we are still not getting the money that we want from the banks.
So now, of course, it's payday. Tell me this: do you still do you find the need to go and withdraw cash at this point in time? And if you do, then what do you plan on doing?
Well, first week of every month, and just now there is a panic because it is a payday, as you say. We have to pay the servants and electricity bill, the rent, this, that, everything. So, of course, I'll again have to go to the bank, stand in the queues for about hour, 2 hours or whatever. And most of the time, after even waiting for about 2 hours, the bank will say, sorry, Reserve Bank ne kuch bheja nahi hai, itna hi hai. And as I said, my daughter who's working full day and every full Saturday also. So again, for her also, I'll have to go to the bank and do the same thing.
Okay, now tell me this. Do you think the government has failed in the sense that senior citizens perhaps should have been exempt as well in this? And also tell me, what are you doing to manage your household expenses in the sense that you have to pay your maid, etc., right? So what are you doing there?
Yeah, well, right when, at the beginning when this was announced at 8th, the very next day, my husband went to the bank and he managed to get, luckily, some 100 rupee notes. And later on, of course, the hundreds ran out. So we were getting only 2,000. So we've been using it very carefully. Normally, I would buy my vegetables from the little fellow who sits at the corner and pay him. So to avoid using cash as much as possible, we have started using a card system in these big stores, like Shakari Bazaar, where you can even buy vegetables, fruits, etc. and pay by card. And my servants also, they were stuck with very little cash. I said, you come with me, buy what you want and you pay me later.
There are also pensioners who are facing a lot of problems. You mentioned that you had to help a friend as well. Tell us what that was like.
Yeah, one pensioner lady, 65-year-old, staying in my building. She went today to the bank, Nationalized Bank, to withdraw her pension. And knowing all rules, 24,000 can be withdrawn easily. So she filled a self-check and for 20,000 rupees and tried to withdraw the money.
And to take the story forward, we have two very special guests joining me here in our studios. Justice Saldanha, former Justice of the Bombay High Court, and Aarti Sathe, spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Both of you, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on The Big Story. I'm just going to start with Aarti in this case. You've already been hearing out what the senior citizens have been telling us. One thing is that the young and the physically able can stand on queues, for the larger good of eradicating black money in this country. But what about those people? I mean, and it is payday, and the pension money is crucial for their own survival.
Yes, we agree that, it's a crucial day and it's the payday, and hence a lot of steps have been taken by the RBI really and by several banks to ease out this situation, in the sense that RBI's printing presses, which were otherwise running in double shifts, are now really running into triple shifts. In certain parts of Northeast, in fact, 500 and 1,000 rupee notes are being airlifted. Air Force copters or Air Force, planes are really working overtime so that the enough cash is there on the day of the payday, even in far-flung and remote areas. As far as senior citizens are concerned, in fact, right from the time the demonetization has been announced, all banks have been given directives that preference has to be given to senior citizens as far as banking activities is concerned. Pensions and all the other payments which have to be made to senior citizens will have to be made on a priority basis. So all these instructions have been given. Each bank has to ultimately comply with those instructions, and government and RBI is taking every step possible to see to it that people will get their payment on the first payday. Like Finance Minister has said, that it is a short-term pain, but ultimately we have to look at the bigger picture. So whatever the glitches that may have been experienced by the people or queues, etc., we'll have to work around them, and ultimately we'll have to really look at the bigger causes, what I can only appeal to all the citizens.
All right, on that note, I'm just going to take this to Mr. M.F. Saldana, former Justice of the Bombay High Court. Mr. Saldana, one is that she was just saying, the government from the beginning has been talking about the special provisions should be made, banks need to make for senior citizens, in the middle of this demonetization drive. As she rightly pointed out, it was said from day one as well. But when it comes to that implementation on the ground, I want to ask you, you're a senior citizen yourself. Have you been able to withdraw any money today?
Impossible.
Did you try?
Absolutely impossible. I did try. I tried twice. There are 2 banks in the vicinity of where I stay. I needed the money because I had to make some payments. I had to pay something in the court which was time bound. I was not able to do it. And this talk with regard to short-term pain, etc. I'm sorry, now we have reached a stage where it's a matter of survival. And if this state of affairs continues, now I ask you a simple question. Last week when I was here on the same channel, I pointed out that a lady in our building died because we could not raise the money to get her admitted to the hospital. The government hospitals were full. Why have the private hospitals, I mean, this is a matter of life and death. Why have the government not exempted hospitals? This is one. But as far as the banks are concerned, see, this is all theory, my friend. There's this argument saying that I've gone about 20 times to different banks, and I can tell you that absolutely no arrangements have been made for senior citizens. Absolutely nothing has been done. This is all in theory. And now if you ask me, it's a question of survival. I'll just ask you 2 questions. Senior citizens are far more vulnerable. They require, and today, before you walk, before you sit down in front of a doctor, he immediately tells you to go and get half a dozen tests done. Now, where do you get the money? Unless you pay cash, they're not going to do those tests. The tests are not done. You can't be treated, and if you can't be treated, you die. Now, is this funny?
It's not at all. And also that argument about if we can have men in uniform in the army willing to stand on the border to protect this country, why can't we stand in ATM queues? You cannot possibly ask that to a 75-year-old pensioner, asking him to stand 2 hours in queues, and that's the reason why we're having this discussion. Aarti, I want to ask the same question. I don't think anybody who has problems with the demonetization move ever questioned the intent of it all. the intent is very well understood. This country has been plagued with this disease called black money. Something needs to be done. It is a bold move, straight that one that will go in the history books for sure. All of that is surely taken care of. But when it comes to the implementation, we've here at Magic Bricks now been pointing out many chinks in the armor of the implementation of the demonetization drive. This particular case of senior citizens, it's after a point turning out to look insensitive. It's as if there was no plan made, there was only announcements made. Because if the banks are not implementing it on the ground, then what is the government and the RBI planning to do about it? For example, we're on day 1 of this month. Can this be fixed tomorrow?
I don't think there is any kind of insensitivity which is being shown to any class of citizens, and especially not to senior citizens. Even at the time when the banknotes were exchanged, there was one dedicated Saturday which was given purely for senior citizens. There were separate queues which were made for senior citizens. See, everybody has a story. Now, it's rather unfortunate that Justice Saldana has been unable to really withdraw certain money. But there have been even stories or even accounts of where people have been given extra facilities and extra care by banks because they are senior citizens. And in fact, senior citizens were allowed to withdraw money not necessarily from the account where they held, rather from the bank where they held the account, but from all other banks where they could withdraw that money. So we have two sides of the stories. At the same time, there is no taking away the fact that there have been some glitches in the whole implementation, the way the implementation of the demonetization scheme has taken place. But one should also realize that these glitches are not only because the government or RBI was not ready. Ultimately, there was some amount of secrecy which had to be kept. As a result thereof, we had to really infuse the currency in a more staged manner. We couldn't, though of course 86% was removed, but in a very staged manner.
That argument is very clearly heard. Every single BJP spokesperson has told us about the secrecy argument, and that's the reason why we found glitches. All I'm asking is that we're on day 1 of December. It's payday. You know the amount of money, thousands of crore rupees of salaries that needs to be withdrawn for the day. Okay, let's leave alone the salaried people who are the affected, who probably hold little or no black money in this country, are the ones who's going to be queuing outside ATMs today. Leave them aside as well. They don't deserve this treatment, but they are part of it because for the larger good of the nation. But what about the senior citizens? Yes, you are right. There was that one Saturday which was reserved for senior citizens. So that I agree with that. But we're talking about payday, pension day. Can something be salvaged by tomorrow at least? Will you take this up to your party and let them know that something needs to be done, that, at least not even one senior citizen goes away without cash? Even one going away without cash is bad enough.
In fact, somebody who just came on the channel right now, a lady whose interview one of your correspondents took, said that the situation has improved. Personally, I also of the belief that the situation has improved. The queues outside most banks have, if not disappeared, but definitely thinned down. So to say that there has been absolutely no action taken, RBI has in fact assured all the state governments and all the banks that they are pumping in as much as possible as far as the cash is concerned, for especially for payday. And like I said, printing presses of the RBI are working overtime. So every step is being taken. Senior citizens will definitely get special privileges. If any bank is not, now nobody can really sit and monitor the functioning of every bank, but necessary directives have already been issued right since the beginning, from the time demonetization took place.
You wanted to say something.
To say that no special privilege is being given to senior citizen, I think would be absolutely incorrect, because we have seen to it that senior citizens get first priority.
All right. Mr. Saldana, please go ahead.
Aarti ji, I don't want to sound frivolous, but shall I tell you something? Whenever I see a short queue or no queue near an ATM, I go there and I'm told that the queue has disappeared because there's no money. And the same is the case. Same is the case in the banks. You see, putting senior citizens in a separate line does not guarantee that they will get the money that they want. And in fact, it's not happening.
At least in terms of priority, so if the ATM is carrying only X amount of cash, at least we are ensuring that the senior citizens first get their X amount of cash. So clearly that queue will help the senior citizens to, get the cash faster than the other citizens who are probably waiting. And like I said, Mr. Justice Saldana, like I said, I am personally seeing, and I also, travel to come to my workplace, I'm personally seeing that the queues have definitely reduced over a period of time. So there is no doubt that the implementation may have had its own issues, but as time goes by, there is going to be an easing out and people are going to be, getting enough money or cash will come through. And I think by the next payday or by say next month, we will be in a position to absolutely not have any queues, even thinner queues or bigger queues is what I'm trying to assure on behalf of the government.
All right. On that note, let's get a quick report in from one of our correspondents in Mumbai, where almost all the ATMs with cash saw long lines of cashless customers, but there were many that were shuttered and out of cash. Take a look at what my colleague Suesha Sawant found out.
Today is the first of the month and majority people have received their salaries today. They got an SMS from their bank in the morning saying that their salaries have been transferred. To find out what is the situation like at the ATMs and if they are being able to withdraw their money, we checked several ATMs. We checked about 6 ATMs up till now, and let me tell you, I'm in Dadar right now. Every lane has an ATM. We've checked up to 6 ATMs right now, out of which 4 were shut. 1 just opened and 1 was open. When we spoke to the people, they said that they want to withdraw their salary. They've been going around to ATMs since morning, but most of the ATMs are shut. Even the few that are open, even the one that was opened, there only 2,000 rupee notes are being dispensed. So in spite of the limit being 2,500 rupees, they're only being able to withdraw 2,000 rupees. Apart from that, we also noticed that although the queues are not very long because most of the ATMs are shut, but the point is that in spite of people wanting to withdraw their salary, they are not being able to do so because they are not getting access to an ATM which is practically open, and in spite of the ones being open, they are only dispensing 2,000 rupee notes. This is Suesha Sawant for Magic Bricks Now.
You know, it's very curious. A lot of ATMs don't seem to be having the 500 rupee note at all. I tried one as well today where they said only 2,000 rupee notes available, which means that although I have a limit up to 2,500, I can withdraw only 2,000 simply because the denominations are not available. Where are the 500 rupee notes is another question that I want to ask at this point in time, because the 2,000 rupee notes are clearly available, but the 500s are not available, which means that even though we do have the the limit of 2,500, only 2,000. That's been the case at least in Mumbai for sure. And I want to bring this back to Aarti. Aarti, at the end of the day, ATMs and the queues outside them, as you rightly pointing out, started thinning, say about a few days ago, and then came payday. Then came yesterday, and then comes today, and the queues are back. That's the reason why we were even discussing this over here. We were also hoping that these queues will thin out somewhere deep inside our hearts. That people, salaried people will find these queues thinning. But now comes payday, and we're not even talking about salaried people. We're talking about people who physically cannot stand in queues for 2 hours, and that is the reason why we're having this discussion. Where are the 500 rupee notes?
Again, repeatedly to say that from the time the demonetization has been announced, the first notes which have been really brought out in the market are really the 2,000 rupee notes, the higher denomination notes. 500 rupee notes, it's not that they are completely not there. Of course, there is a bit of shortage as far as the 500 rupee notes are concerned. And hence, as I have said repeatedly, that the printing presses are working overtime. We are not in denial of the fact that the short-term pain is there as far as the demonetization process is concerned. Nowhere has the government ever, none of the spokesperson or even right from the finance minister ever said that we are not going to face some challenges. The challenge, in fact, which we may face will be, in fact, till the end of this year or early next year. So, I think we need to have a little more of patience, which I know the citizens of the country are showing. And slowly and gradually, RBI, along with the government, is taking every step to infuse enough currency in the system. So, 500 rupee notes will gradually come in. It's not that they're completely not there. Some ATMs are definitely dispensing 500 rupee notes. I have somebody who gave me a 500 rupee note as of 2 days back. Though personally, I have from the ATM from where I withdraw, certain foreign banks are not getting 500 rupees notes, but certain nationalized banks are definitely getting. SBI is also, and other banks are also giving prepaid cards to, salaried people. They are giving food coupons. So people are finding alternative means till the currency situation completely comes up to speed to what it was prior to the demonetization.
True. On that note, I'm going to take this to Mr. Saldana. Mr. Saldana, prepaid cards, food coupons, there are many innovative ways of moving on to a cashless economy. In fact, that's the reason behind this entire demonetization drive, to make a paradigm shift in the way we as Indians transact. But for senior citizens, prepaid cards, coupons, you are somebody who lives in South Bombay. Talk to me. I mean, South Bombay can't get more in terms of internet connectivity, in terms of availability of smartphones, in terms of access to technology, in terms of access to cashless transactions. You are at the pinnacle of it all in the entire country in South Bombay. I want to understand your perspective on that.
Krishna Kumar, can I ask you one basic question?
Of course,
and I'd like to ask Aarti ji and the party and the government whom she represents. You are talking about this move that has been directed against flushing out large-scale black money. Yes. All right, very good. Now, will you please tell me how many pensioners and how many senior citizens possess black money in this country? Will you answer that question?
I wish I had answered that question.
There's absolutely none. And why have they not been exempted? It's a matter of survival. If tomorrow I require some immediate tests or hospitalization and I don't have the money, I got to pay for it. Now, end of the year, end of next year, something else. This is all wishful thinking. The simple question that the common man wants to know.
I have to interject, say that when you use words like patience, challenging, inconvenience, these are very mild words to what people go through. You can choose to call it inconvenience, but it ends up being harassment for a lot of other people.
No. It's a matter of life and death.
So the demonetization...
For senior citizens, it's a matter of life and death.
For senior citizens, it's a matter of life and death.
So the demonetization, the other also aspect which has been taken care of by way of demonetization, and that is where even the common people may have been affected or may have been possessing, are the counterfeit coins, counterfeit notes which were coming into large scale in our country from across the border. So to say that senior citizens and other salaried people do not have black money and hence this really is something which is an harassment to them. But let me tell you that the black money in the entire system needs to be flushed out. And at the same time, counterfeit notes which may actually be available with any one of us also need to be flushed out of the system. That is really the bigger cause. And I'm not saying just by saying, I'm not trying to apply some sort of balm by saying that, challenges are there or these inconveniences are there. But we know that any new step, any new change, it's human mind, a new change, it's a sudden knee-jerk reaction will have its problems, and the government is not in denial of that. But all that we are urging and all that we are asking is to really see the bigger picture. The bigger picture being flushing out of the black economy, counterfeit notes gone, leading to a cashless economy, leading to different spending habits as far as people are concerned, a higher GDP, banks being flush with funds, so the interest rates really going down. So look at it from a more holistic approach rather than seeing these short-term pain points which the government is not in denial of.
All right, on that note, let's quickly hear in some more voices coming in from people outside banks and ATMs. This set of sound bites come from the national capital. Take a look.
मैंने 15 तारीख को चेक भरा हुआ है लेकिन आज तक बैंक में पैसे नहीं मिले मेरे को। लाइन में 4-4 घंटे लगे रहो, नंबर आता है कह रहा कि अब 10,000 मिलेंगे, 15,000 का चेक भर के आज लाते घर से, कह रहा अब 8,000 मिलेंगे, चेक दूसरा ले आओ।
सुबह 10 बजे लाइन में लगे हैं और अभी अनाउंसमेंट कर दिया गया कि 2:30 बजे बंद हो जाएगा। हम लोग फरीदाबाद से आए हुए हैं, 4-5 लोग हैं हमारे परिवार में। अभी 1 रुपया भी नहीं है कि हम अपने घर में सब्जी ले जाएँ, दूध ले जाएँ, क्या ले जाएँ बच्चों के लिए। कोई इंतजाम नहीं है, बैंकों में बदहाली हो रखी है। 25-24 हज़ार के लिए बोलते हैं, उसमें भी 10 मिलते हैं या 5 मिलते हैं, कैश खत्म हो जाता है।
10 बजे से मैं आया हूँ, अभी तक मुझे एक्सचेंज नहीं हुआ है। क्या बात है ये? आप मान के 2:30 बजे तक बंद हो गया, उसके बाद ये मोदी जी को ये 4 बजे तक टाइम बताना चाहिए उसको। 6 बजे।
All right, a lot of similar stories from the ATMs and banks in the national capital as well. I'm just going to end this discussion by asking for closing comments, and I'm going to ask Aarti to start again. Aarti, your closing comments, one last word in for all the senior citizens watching this.
Well, my closing comments will be that senior citizens don't have to worry at all as far as their pensions or any of their funds which are there in the banks. They are given top priority and they will be given top priority. Anywhere where senior citizens may be facing problems, they can, the required redressal will be done by those banks and it can be brought to the attention of the government through various channels or various agencies is an assurance I can give. And once again, I'm urging, in fact, all the citizens of the country that the short-term pain may be considered, for a longer benefit, and that longer benefit will be a more brighter economy as far as India is concerned.
Last closing comments from Mr. M.F. Saldana. Please go ahead.
Aarti ji, how can I accept what you're saying? My pension is lying. It's in my bank account. I can't access it. And if I need to get it in an emergency, I still can't access it. Now, what is the rationality behind the 7-day rule? Now, how would it have hurt the government if the senior citizens and pensioners were exempted from all these ridiculous... this rule says, I went to the bank today and they told me you have made a withdrawal of 2,000 rupees from the ATM 6 days back. Today is the 7th day, so therefore you come tomorrow, till then we can't give you any money. Now, why these arbitrary rules? Because please understand that it's a matter of life and death. See, all this petty talk about little bit of pain and all, this is not a question of pain. It's a question of survival now. And even now, how will it hurt the government if the senior citizens and pensioners are exempted from all these arbitrary rules?
Even now.
Even now.
Even that's the point here. Even now, action needs to be taken to fix, because it is not about a little inconvenience. It is not about people having a little more patience. It is a matter of life and death for many, including the senior citizens of this country. And on that note, I'm going to thank both of our panelists for taking time out to be with us here on The Big Story on Magic Bricks Now. Thank you, Aarti. Thank you, Mr. Saldana. And we need to wrap things up here on this edition of The Big Story on Magic Bricks Now. This is Krishna Kumar signing off.
You can watch live TV on our website mpnow.in. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/magicbricksnow. And don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at magicbricksnow. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/magicbricksnow.